Welcome into your NBA Finals Wednesday edition of Dropping Dimes. I am your host, Matt Nost, and I'm joined by two amazing sports gambling aficionados. The two guys in my life that I know like to gamble on the NBA, NFL, anything else more than any other two people that I know. And I figured, why not take that kind of angle for the preview for the NBA Finals? Because you're going to hear me blather about it for the next couple of weeks. So just to mix it up a little bit, joining me is the always amazing Josh Macuga and the ever handsome Mr. Sean Green. How are we, gentlemen?
I'm doing handsome? Great. Yeah. I was going to say, rarely as a comedian do you get the handsome intro, but I'll take it. As a degenerate gambler, I don't get my looks highlighted very often, so I'm excited.
True.
We never do as men, so enjoy it. Don't worry, Josh. I will pepper in something about the thick, manly beard.
Thank you. Yeah.
Although it looks like both of you can grow a better beard than I can, so fuck off.
The best part is that Sean and myself, both Pennsylvania guys, know exactly what it's like to want to bet on your own teams, whether it's the Sixers or the Steelers or the Eagles or the Flyers or Penguins, and know that you're rooting actively for them to just cover a spread. Right?
Yes.
Like you want to win, you want the money line, but you also want that cover.
There is nothing worse than, having a crazy Eagles victory where they win by 3 points and then you're laying 4 points and you're like, God damn, like what did I do this?
It's the old inside joke of like, if you ever meet a person from Pittsburgh who's not a Steeler fan, the Steelers just haven't covered enough that season and they're just upset about the gambling situation.
Yeah, I mean, one of the all-time examples of that was when Chip Kelly, that one year they won the NFC East. The last game going into it, I got the breaking news that Tony Romo would not be starting, had the back issue. Kyle Orton was going to be the starter. The line was 2.5, and I went and I got it at minus 2.5 before the line shifted with the Kyle Orton, and beating the number like that, it ended up moving to 7 points. I'm like, I'm a genius. This is awesome. Of course, the Eagles win exactly 2 points, and everyone's celebrating the NFC East, the division win. My dad's like, why aren't you excited? I'm like, I had 2.5.
Yep.
I love that you even have a shorthand between your dad.
He knew.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the thing. I wanted to have you guys on because I never gambled. Technically, last year, I had a friend go to Vegas 3 times over the NBA playoffs, and I went 29 for 32 with his money.
Jesus.
Damn.
Yeah. No, I was on fire. But so far this year, because I had some fans on 2 weeks ago. It's kind of my Friday ritual on the show is I bring fans on because Wednesdays I say for guests type of thing. And I think I went 1 for 6 on because it's gambling. I don't ever gamble, but last year I was on fire. This year it's like I think I'm 1 for 6 so far. So bring on 2 individuals that follow this more obsessively, and also I think looking at the betting angle can kind of give you a better perspective of what potential matchups that maybe I or others aren't recognizing that could be the difference in this series overall. If you could see what the sharps, where their money is going, perhaps they're looking at this through a different lens or perspective than somebody who just obsesses over the games and the stats and all that. So, Sean, I know that you looked at the series or the series as a whole for various prop bets and whatnot. Is there anything that sticks out initially upon you looking into it?
Yeah, I mean, just right off the top, I think if you like the Lakers, I think there's you're much better off, I think, betting the MVP than the actual Lakers series price. If you look at the Lakers series price, it's like minus 340, minus 325, meaning you have to bet $325 to win $100. However, if you go to the MVP bets, and obviously, unless there's something crazy happens, if the Lakers win, it's going to be a Lakers who gets the MVP. LeBron James, and I already bet this at a pretty decent amount. LeBron James to win the MVP is only minus 125. So
Yeah.
meaning you only have to bet $125 to win $100 that LeBron wins the MVP, compared to almost 3 times the amount for the Lakers to win the series. Now, maybe you're an AD guy and think he's going to be the difference there. AD, you get plus odds, so you can bet 100 to win $210. To me, the LeBron and with these MVP votes, it's always a storyline. It's always a narrative. For me, the storyline narrative for LeBron, it's right there, right? Like, he's the guy who, has been captaining this team in the bubble. He's gelling well with Caruso. He already kind of called out the season-long MVP voters for not giving him enough respect. Like, it's just setting up for a LeBron MVP. And you saw it in that closeout game where when he really wants to get to the basket, and he still can do it at will. He'll get, I think, multiple triple doubles in the series. But yeah, LeBron MVP really jumped out at me as a great price.
I actually took the same bet because I think if they win, which listen, right now Lakers are getting 5.5 in game 1, so clearly Vegas handicappers see this as a kind of a Lakers situation because, game 6 against the Nuggets, it was at 3.5. So clearly they think the Nuggets are better than Miami. And you're talking about, if they win the series and LeBron James doesn't win the MVP, Anthony Davis had to do something absolutely bonkers.
Yes.
Right? Like he had to average a triple-double throughout the whole series, a couple game winners, like taking on the whole team, or maybe
100%.
Something happens to LeBron and he gets hurt. Like, that's the only way Anthony Davis is going to take it. And rarely, what does it happen? Like 3 times in the history of all professional sports that a player on the losing team gets an MVP. Like, Jimmy Butler legitimately has to put up like 50 points a game and they lose in game 7. And he was clearly the best player on the floor. That's the only way.
But the NBA is not going to – it's been Jerry West, I believe, was the last one and the only one to win the MVP on a losing squad. And if there was ever a time to do it, it was Cavs in 14 or 15 when LeBron Love got his arm dislocated and Kyrie goes out with that busted knee, and LeBron managed to drag those guys, and they still managed – they got –
went to game 6, right?
Yeah, they got 2 victories off of this. Just like if there ever should be an MVP, because that's the one that went to Iguodala, and you're kind of like, I guess Iguodala. I think Curry should probably win this, but I have no better answer for you right now. It's just like, if there's ever a year where the losing side should have the MVP, I think it's this one. But so that does
Sean,
seem like.
Wait, real quick. Sorry, Sean. Do you think that minus 325 is kind of absurd? Like, do we think that Miami's going to push this? Honestly,
you mean absurd as in it's like that high or that low?
That high.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as far as I see the series breaking down, I do think game 1, I do kind of like, especially if you can get that 5.5, I may go Miami, because I do think they're going to make it a game 1. And if you looked at the Lakers so far, with the exception of the Nuggets, who are coming off like back-to-back 7-game series, and the Lakers did really well in game 1. For the most part, the Lakers, they lost, I think, the couple game 1s previously. So I think this Heat team is going to give them some matchup issues. I think it's just going to take the Lakers a little bit of time to figure out how to play the Heat and really how to kind of, to deal with Bam. Anthony Davis may have a little trouble figuring him out early. So I do think, especially game 1, I wouldn't be shocked if the Heat pull out a victory, or at least that cover at 5.5. But I think this, to me, feels like a 6-game series for the Lakers. Certainly there's a world where they push it to 7. And again, to be conspiracy theory Sean here for a second, the NBA is going head to head with the NFL, and we saw ratings wise that like Thursday Night Football even beat out some of the Western Conference. So anything the NBA can do to kind of extend the series and get more eyeballs on the series as a whole, especially with a random small market team like Miami, I think they're going to do. So I wouldn't be shocked if we see 6, even 7 games.
Well, yeah, that was going to be like my bet here. And Matt is like, I was going to put the series over under at 6.5.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
I think that's where it's the sweet spot of, I don't see the Lakers. If you listen to talk radio here in LA, it's Lakers in 5, and they're being, that's them being gentlemen and not like through gritted teeth wanting to say sweep. Just like, all right, guys, I don't know that the Lakers' advantage is so distinctly clear that you could say even remotely hint at sweep and say a gentleman sweep at 5 games. I think it is 6, and hypothetically, this could get pushed to 7. And there is a world in which Miami wins this. But 6.5 is right in the fuck you zone, I would imagine, is a better.
Yeah, I mean, there's a prop bet Lakers in 6 that you can get at plus 300. Again, meaning like 100 to win, 300 off that. That's kind of where I see it going, but 7 certainly in play. And to your over-under game, it may even be 6 or 5.5 at some point, especially when a lot of the Laker money comes in late. And if you think about it, there's a ton of Lakers fans in Vegas, or maybe they're hanging, LA people out there hanging out in Vegas. So the Laker money could be coming in late. And obviously the bigger names. I mean, the casual fan, besides Jimmy Butler, may have trouble naming 1 or 2 more Heat players, Whereas,
will have trouble.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I think, again, if you like the Lakers, bet it as soon as you can, but also to the fact of the over under the number of games, I think you can probably wait until closer to tip off, to get that number bet down.
I mean, if you're looking at it at 5.5, that was where I would I feel like that's the sweet spot. But I have this strong feeling that Miami's going to squeak out 2 wins in there, and this is going to go 6. But again, nobody counted Miami in any of this coming into the playoffs, right? And all of a sudden, they were the hottest team in the bubble.
I mean, Miami has 6 guys right now throughout the playoffs averaging double digits, and the lowest of which is 11.3 for Duncan Robinson. But it's more so, it's like 14, 15 and up to 22-ish, 24-ish. Whereas you look at the Lakers, it is LeBron and AD, and then you have to drop all the way down to Kuzma is at 10.5 points. KCP's at 9.9. Rondo's at 9.1. So in essence, if you can slow down either of LeBron or AD for 2-3 games, you can win those games, because now it's like is Kuzma actually going to be able to step up and do this? I doubt it. What about KCP or Caruso or Rondo? It's asking a lot, especially in the finals. Now, granted, it's also in Orlando, so you don't have the home and away crowds to deal with the nerves and whatnot. But yeah, if it's at 5.5, I would take the over on that.
Well, and just kind of you walked me right into one of the first prop bets I like for game 1, and if you like it for the series as well. You pointed out that Kuzma averaging 10.5 in the playoffs so far. However, if you go and you look at the regular season matchups of Kuzma versus the Heat specifically, his average goes all the way down to 7 points per game even. So they set his point price based off that playoff average. So you can bet under Kyle Kuzma points for game 1. It's sitting at 10 points, maybe even 9.5. I like the under for that a lot. And it seems like Caruso has kind of almost been getting some more of those random buckets with LeBron. They clearly have a chemistry. And I think Kuzma could be a little odd man out. Maybe he shows up later in the series, but I definitely like under for game 1 for Kuzma. Points.
I think that's a pretty good bet. I mean, Kuzma really has been pretty, relatively quiet this whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, he is one of those players that sneaky, shows up one game, right? So which game in the series is that? That's the gambler nightmare, right? Is
you hope it's not game 1.
Yeah, exactly. So get it at 10, and all of a sudden he goes off, and he's got 3 3-pointers in the first half. Now you're sweating it out at 10. I don't know.
Well, watching that last series, it was one of my favorite subplots of anytime he was matched up with Michael Porter Jr. and Michael Porter Jr. makes a bucket, then Kuzma immediately runs down like a petulant child and forces up a shot to match to show that, no, I am the best young player. So now he'll have something like Tyler Hero, and Heroes look silky smooth, and it just has a much more confident shot. So I think Kuzma is, if he gets into those little tete-a-tete battles, he's going to be forcing bad shot after bad shot. Yeah, I like the under on that as well.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I got a question for you guys as for, game 1 point totals, specifically with LeBron. LeBron's game 1 point total is pretty high. It's 28.5. which is kind of crazy. But then you look back at his previous NBA Finals, he's always done well scoring in game ones. But then I keep going back and forth. Like, are we going to see LeBron in that FU mode, putting in a ton of baskets, or is he going to be LeBron, the facilitator, has a bunch of guys with not a ton of final experience, getting them involved? Like, hey, here's a great pass for you. Like, which LeBron do you guys think shows up game one? I'm going back and forth on it.
Go ahead, Josh.
I feel like the bubble situation is like changing the entire dynamic of these finals, right? It's like some of these young guys, they get to the playoffs, it's cool and everything, and then you get to a packed Staples Center with LeBron James right across from you, and you've never even like sniffed this kind of pressure before. But you're in the bubble. All you have is people on Zoom watching you, and you got some dude just kind of heckling you like you're playing at the Drew, right? So
yeah.
I think that LeBron James in this one loses a little bit of the LeBron James factor, and the Heat are like, fuck it, we're in the bubble. Like there's really, we have nothing to lose. And LeBron James, he may say he doesn't listen to it, but he knows this is like a legacy situation.
Yes.
That being said, I think he shows up, but I think Anthony Davis has the bigger game. I'd take the under on LeBron points.
It's at 28.5.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
That is pretty high, especially for LeBron in this play. Now, he's averaged, I believe, in the ballpark of 28 to 28.5. So I think I'm saying over the course of the playoffs in Orlando there. So that's what they're basing it on. But I would assume he's coming in as facilitator to open the game. He wants to get his other players going, so that way late in the game they have more hot options. So I triple double for sure. But they're already, I have to assume, banking on the triple double. So there's a bet for that. But I would say under. I see him trying to get KCP going and Danny Green. Let's see if they actually start JaVale or Dwight. I would assume they shift to the same lineup they did against Houston and go a smaller route, but who knows? Like,
do the Heat let LeBron beat them and then they kind of focus their attention more on AD? Or is it because what is the game plan there?
You put Adebayo onto, your best is Adebayo on AD, but AD's wingspan is 7'5", Adebayo's is 7'1", and they're roughly the same height. So he's got that extra little bit of length. If you can slow him down and let LeBron, you got to pick your poison.
Yeah. Because you can't have 6 defenders. So
I know, and especially with the length that they have.
They would like that extra one. Well, you mentioned the triple-double bet, and they do have that. Bam Adebayo's on here at 29-1, but LeBron is plus 225 for a triple-double game one. I don't know. To me, that feels like right in that perfect wheelhouse. The more I think about it, the more I do think he is going to kind of be in that facilitator role, making sure everyone gets their touches. And Josh brought up a good point that we were just talking about, the kind of like the no home court thing. I think obviously really helps the Heat, and that's why we're seeing the first fifth seed ever in the NBA Finals. I think is that a guy like Tyler Hero, it's way easier to put up, have a crazy 35-point game when you're in the bubble versus like in Boston or something with like those maniac fans. And I don't know. It definitely changes the dynamic. And the Heat do have a much more balanced team that you guys were hitting on. Like, they got 4 guys averaging over 16 or more in the playoffs, compared to the Lakers, which is just basically AD, LeBron, and then a rotation of other guys there.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking at kind of the things like the prop bet that I couldn't find, so I kind of just created is like, would you take over under 2.5 Laker team triple doubles in the series, right? Or would you take like a plus 300 on, so like 3-1 that the Heat even get one team triple double?
So by team triple double, you mean anybody but LeBron gets a triple double on the team?
Anybody on the Heat gets a triple double. I'm giving you 3-1
for the series.
For the series,
yeah. So I wouldn't take that even at 3-1, just because you look at the triple double stats or the odds for the triple double and just in game one, they're already setting you up for, or just showing like they don't think it's going to happen. So Yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I think there'll be a lot of if there was a prop bet on
9 or something like that.
Yeah, or like double digit scores. I would definitely take the over on that each game for the Heat if they did something like that. But triple doubles, I think it's going to be tough. Plus, they do a better job with the minute distribution, and that kind of comes back to Spoelstra, who everyone, I was probably in that mindset of like when he first took over coaching the Heat. You're like, really, the video intern, when they had their big three going on down there. But I mean, he's really shown to be a very good coach.
I keep forgetting that he's the coach in Miami every year.
Yeah.
Like, your coach is in Miami.
Really?
Oh, he's still there? He's still there. Like, you know what I'm saying? I always figured he'd be fired by now,
they've been in this weird random situation after the Chris Bosh blood clots into the Dwayne Wade leaving to come back. They had to overspend for Hassan Whiteside and Deion Waiters and Tyler Johnson. And they've been in this weird, and the whole time Spoelstra managed to keep them relevant. Now, they may not have made the playoffs, but they were a tough out night in, night out. It's just like, man, this guy is a good coach. Too bad he's been given, a handful of shit and has to turn it into a fucking, something good every night.
Well, it's kind of that Pat Riley effect, right? Like Pat Riley never wants to be wrong. So he's going to ride that Spoelstra. Like Spoelstra's not leading a Heat team like each year into, territory a la the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? He's constantly keeping them like 8 seed, 7 seed, 6 seed, 5 seed, somewhere in that arena. They're never going to be like the best in the East as of right now. But what he's done in this bubble so far has just kind of proved Pat Riley right. Everybody's writing these articles about like the Pat Riley effect, all this kind of stuff. He's believed in Spoelstra. And then like if somebody believes in you and you feel like you have job security, you can take some risks and the players want to play for you. They feel like players can feel that situation where the general manager's like, yo, if you don't win this, it's over. Bye, Spoelstra. So
I agree. But the only thing I find disconcerting about Pat at this point is every time they cut to him, his mask is on upside down. I don't know if you've noticed that, but the NBA logo, which is embroidered, is upside down. Now, either he got a fucked up one that they should have sent back, or it's like in Finding Forrester, Sean Connery's character likes to wear his socks inside out because he feels that's the way they should be made. So Pat is, or he's a doddering old man that is fucking wearing his mask upside down and he just doesn't care at this point. It's like,
Pat Riley was like 61 years old when he was coaching the Showtime Lakers. So at this point, he's 100.
Well, yeah, and the fun thing about sports being back is that storyline of these different coaches either trying to figure out their mask, wearing the mask, not wearing it properly, just all these old guys trying to wrap their head around the mask has been an underrated, fun storyline. And Pat Riley, with the slick back hair and then the mask covering his face, kind of looks particularly evil, I think, because you can't see any sort of expression in his face of like, normally he's got that like kind of like smile where he's showing a lot of teeth or something. But now with the slick back hair and no facial expression, he does look like a supervillain.
No, I'm with you.
He fits Miami to a T. He's pushing weight. You know what I mean? Just
yeah, exactly.
All right. Sean, do you have any other good prop bets for game one of the series itself?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can look at game one. We've already hit on the Kuzma under. There's some that are pretty fun. You can do some of these like longer shot ones. I mean, yeah, it kind of, what's fun about these is to kind of find a storyline that you're kind of riding. To me, it's that that they'll kind of be in it. One that's a little bit, them meaning like the Heat will be in it. They'll cover the 4.5. One that's a bit of a longer shot, but you're getting 10-1 odds, so plus 1,000. Jimmy Butler to have 30 points and the Heat to win is 10-1. So if you think if you think the Heat are going to be in the game, a Jimmy Butler 30-point game. And again, of these bubble players, Butler especially seems to have a chip on his shoulder. He's definitely more experienced than a lot of the other Heat guys. He's not really of the Heat players, I don't think he's going to be scared of LeBron or scared of the moment. Like this guy just seems to be salivating to really, I don't know, just make a statement game. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes off game one. If he has over 30 points, wouldn't be shocked if the Heat win game one plus 1,000. That one's pretty fun.
I agree.
So but he hasn't needed to do that. So
yeah,
if he has to put up 30 points, I more so look at that. It's one of two realities. Either his teammates need to see buckets go in and confidence as a whole, as a group, or nobody else is making shots and it is forcing Jimmy to shoot this much because he just hasn't needed to do it since like Indiana in the opening round when he put up 40. Since then, it's just been he does not inflict his will on the offense or the other team until the fourth quarter if they need buckets. And even then, I would more so look for the Dragic kind of line of him getting plus, anything over 25. I think would be a better indication of whether or not the Heat won the game.
Yeah, but that's a fun $10 bet at plus 1,000.
Yeah,
maybe throw it in there.
Can you win $100 on that?
Yeah, no, 10 to win 100. I mean, yeah, you're probably right. Like on that angle, as far as like, okay, if he really has to do that, then that's probably a bad sign. So kind of coming to your angle on Goran Dragic, Dragic to have 25 points and the Heat to win is plus 650. So that would be like $10 to win 65. That you're right. That may be more an angle kind of worth looking at though.
Well, Dragic and Butler are basically averaging the same amount of points. Like Butler's at what, 20 and Dragic is like 21.
Yeah, they're right. And then Bam's right there with them too.
Right. Exactly.
And then Hero's just a point or two below. Well, from the last series overall, 3-4 below that. But yeah, so they're all. I mean, they've got numerous guys averaging double digits.
Yeah. But it's all a matter of like, is this going to be the Harlem Globetrotters push it around the whole time? Like Hoosiers, Gene Hackman's pass the ball, he's the best guy. Or like you said, is Jimmy Butler feel like he's got to take it on his shoulders in the fourth quarter? They're down 10, and he just starts. And if he gets hot and the Heat win, there's all.
Yeah, no, that'll fuck with you. But on a night, if he has to score that many, I think that's a bad sign for the Heat because they've proven to be successful when he doesn't need to do that, and they've only lost 3 times. So
what's his biggest game so far in the playoffs? Like 32?
No, he put up 40 something against the Pacers early on.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, their game where they're most successful is kind of that well-rounded game. I'm just in that 10-1 scenario. It's like, it's
the payoff.
Yeah, no, I think that game script is just more like you said, maybe the rest of the Heat team just not shooting well. He feels like he kind of has to put the team on his back and kind of goes off and they win. What do you have any leans? Because there's a bunch of fun ones with the 3-point shooting. Any thoughts on guys you think may hit a couple threes or not? Because they're all, like 3-point made for the most part. They're all pretty low, sitting at like 1.5, 2.5, with the exception of Robinson. His total's at 3.5. To me, I kind of like as much as he's been fun to watch in the bubble. And I love the storyline of Hero and just, going off and the fun he's had. I think he might be a little tight game one against this Lakers team. I mean, the kid's 20 years old and you're going up against LeBron James in the NBA Finals. Of these guys, I could just imagine, I don't know, a little tight, just not quite have that swagger that he had earlier going against some of these other teams. His 3 points made is sitting at 2.5. I kind of like the under there because I don't know, him hitting 3. I don't know. Where are you guys at with the Tyler Hero threes, or do you have any thoughts on other guys 3 points made in this first game?
So I love the idea of him kind of being. It's not like cold or say tight, but I get what you're going. I'm getting more like. Maybe Tiger Woods jacked up on 18 of a major and his caddy 30
just
yards,
too excited.
Yards. Yeah. So he's throwing a little long. He's hitting some long tricks. And, maybe he reins back the 3-point attempts. I would take the under. I like the under at 2.5.
So the Robinson one, if he hits 1, he's going to hit 5.
Yeah.
That's just he'll either go 5 of 10. I like the interesting bets for me for Robinson is will he attempt a 2? Any field goal outside of a 3? Because he only had one of those games in the last round. He legitimately did not shoot until he started getting layups and just like, what the fuck is this?
Were Duncan Robinson's parents Spurs fans? Is that why they?
I don't know. He went to a Div 3 school. They could be any kind of fans. I'm not sure.
Okay.
The crowd, like, what's Crowder at? Is he at 1.5 or 2.5?
Crowder's at 2.5.
First 2 rounds, you take the over. After last round, I think you take the under on that.
Yeah, and that's something that's kind of interesting too with the bubble, especially. It's like they're shooting in the same stadium, so I think guys that get hot are probably more likely to stay hot, and guys that get cold are kind of more likely to stay cold. So to that point, I would kind of go Crowder under 2.5 as well. Just because, I think like once you get out of sync and then you're playing in the same stadium or same arena, whatever, with the same sight lines, I think it takes a little bit more to get back into a bit of a rhythm. Whereas if you're like playing in your home court and then you go somewhere else and you come back to your home court, you can find that muscle memory. I don't know. That's where I'm at with that one.
I could do that all day. Like you flip over to the Lakers side, and just be like, I don't know who do I like on this, that, and the other.
Danny Green for the Lakers, his is at 1.5. I like the over on that. Am I crazy?
It's the problem is other years I'd say it's crazy that it's only 1.5. This year, man, he has looked. I mean, certain nights he looks like Danny Green. Other nights he couldn't hit the bottom of the net if he tried. And you're like, I don't understand this guy at all. And then Rondo is shooting 40 some odd % from 3 on a decent number of shots. And you're like, this fucking run makes no sense. This makes no sense.
I just remember like my wife is like a huge Lakers fan, and in my brain, anytime I see Rondo pull up for 3, I'm like, what are you doing? Don't do that. I'm like, and then she's like, no, he's good at 3s. I'm like, what world are we living in 2020?
Yeah.
Underrated storyline that Rondo's good at 3s. Like, where did this come from?
The opening round before he actually started getting hot, he pump faked, and I literally said to myself, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And I'm not even D'ing him up, but it's just like, nobody's buying that. And then cut to 3 series later, it's just like, dude, he's shooting like 42% from 3 on a decent number of, it's crazy talk.
This is the Rajon Rondo that, like, I think somebody got in his head in the bubble, and maybe this is, again, another like LeBron James effect, where he's just sat down Rondo, and he's like, listen, man, I've been watching you play for 10 years, and you're really good. You just haven't, you've kind of gone insane at certain points. Do you want to play with me and win a championship? Because if you do, I think you've got it. And now Rondo has some confidence. He's out there with LeBron, right? He dated like 6 girls that stabbed him. One like stole his identity. Now he's with a girl that respects him. Like they're feeling it with each other. That's where Rondo is. But I would take the over on the Rondo 3s.
It's probably true because LeBron has been saying for a long time that he always wanted to play with Rondo, and Rondo seems very much the type that wants that type of respect.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a coach on the floor, and he wants the recognition. Go ahead, Sean.
Totally.
Oh, no, and I'm just saying this entire conversation as a Sixers fan is just making me so pissed that Ben Simmons won't even attempt 3s. Like, come on, man. Rondo figured it out. Just try some 3s.
Do you hate the fact that Jimmy Butler is doing this in Miami and not?
I hate it, but again, it helps me win an argument over my brother who was like, get rid of Butler. He doesn't fit. He doesn't want to be there. Right. I'm like, dude, we need Butler. Butler is that scrappy, hungry dog. Like, yeah, I like Embiid and Simmons, but they clearly, and not to sound like an old man, but they're clearly like the younger millennial generation of like, hey, we'll try, but maybe we don't try. I don't know. Yeah. And then Brett Brown's like, hey, guys, do whatever you feel, man. Like we needed a hard ass like Jimmy Butler who was like, no, give me that MF ball. I'm taking this the entire way. Like you just need that, especially in playoff basketball. Like, and the fact that he has that same sort of junkyard dog energy that he's brought into the bubble, I think is really a big reason of why they've been so successful and why he's been going off.
Yeah,
I love at the trade deadline, Elton Brand, he was asked, what are you guys looking for? And he's like, looking for a scrappier player that can get us a bucket late in the game and can help run the offense. And you're like, literally describing Jimmy Butler to a team. So you could have held on to him instead of max extending Tobias Harris plus, getting Al Horford. You could have had the money for this.
No, don't bring up Al Horford.
But we'll have you on. We'll have you on another show to talk shit about the Sixers. I got zero problem doing that because they made choices galore.
Oh, God.
And enjoy Doc Rivers more than likely coaching your team. Let's move on, shall we? All right, Josh, let's flip over to you. What interesting prop bets do you have for Sean and I?
Okay, so again, like it was really hard to find a lot of series prop bets. It usually is. So I'm kind of like becoming the house here, right? So if you guys were going to bet with me, do you like the odds? Do you think the house is making a bad decision? Feel free to insult me as Pittsburgh Casino.
This is a binding contract. So go ahead. Yes, you're the house. And if we like any of these, we'll bet with you.
Okay, so LeBron points. I'm going to start with totals, and then I'm going to go. I'll walk you around. But LeBron points in the series over under 153.5.
Ooh. So this one's fun because it's not only a bet on LeBron points per game, but also a bet on number of games played, right? Yeah. Because like obviously if you think it's going to go 4, I mean getting 153 in 4 games is kind of insane. But
not for LeBron.
Yeah, you're right. Who knows? And if they are sweeping, maybe that's what he does. 153. Oh man, that is a well-crafted number. 153.
Yeah, even at 6 games, that's a lot of points for LeBron at this stage. If you had said AD and we think it's going 6, I would take the over on that. I think I'm inclined to go under on 153.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Oh man, 153. Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to go over, but again, I think you kind of nailed it because at 6 games, that's 25.5. I think he's like high 20s. So I got him at probably like 27 times 6 games. But yeah, that's a good number. But I gun to my head, I would go over there.
Okay. All right. So in similar, I've got 4 other players here. Same thing. Over under points in the series. Okay. So Anthony Davis, 148.5.
Over. No brainer.
Yeah, I think you got to go over there as well.
Okay.
But again, Anthony Davis, I guess the argument against it would be, well, obviously besides like possibly less than 6 games, which I'm kind of basing these numbers off of, but he's got that ankle issue that he's dealing with. Maybe he tweaks that a little bit. Like he's one of those guys who's kind of always a little bit nicked up. First NBA Finals. Those would be the arguments against it. But I'm with Nost here on the over.
So basically, how I kind of looked at the totals was: do I think it's somewhere between 5 and 6 games, right? So like if it goes 5, we're like somewhere around the under. If it goes 6, we're like kind of trending towards over. If it goes 7, these numbers are going to get blown out of the water. And again, like if you're the house and people are like game 3, you're adjusting these totals to try and get it. So it's like, is the smarter bet getting them pre-series or the smarter bet getting them game 3? That's the point. Like that's why I love these props with series. How about Tyler Hero over under 76.5?
76.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking the over. I mean, the guy, I think he gets off to a slow start, but I think he has like 1 or 2 games later on where he kind of finds his rhythm and goes off shooting wise.
Okay.
Yeah. After having averaged 19 over the conference finals, I think bad night for him at this point is going to be 14, 15 points. Good night is going to be 26.
Okay.
So he has 2 good nights and a couple bad nights. He's still going to clear that bar. So yeah, I think over on, and when are you setting up your casino? Cause so far I had a couple tasty bets that I like here. So,
okay. Jimmy Butler, 141.5 series.
I think I take the under on that because if they're genuinely going to win or extend beyond, he needs to have 22-ish points a game because that means they're spreading the ball around. If he's going hero ball and needing to score all the time, this is going to be a short series and he's not going to come near that number anyway. So I still think you take the under on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that fun game one prop at 10-1, but yeah, no, I think Nose is kind of onto something with his angle of like, yeah, he's just I would probably go under there just on points.
And I bumped it up 2 more points for Goran Dragic, so 140 for Dragic.
140. I'll take the over on Dragic.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would take the over on Dragic as well because the ball's in his hands more, and he has no problem shooting early, whereas Jimmy likes to wait till the fourth quarter.
Okay. Series, we'll go to rebounds. Anthony Davis and LeBron James, total rebounds, 101.
Do you have an AD solo? Because I would take the under. I don't care what the number is.
Okay. No, I'm not going to do AD solo. I'm just doing Dave.
Okay.
This is a parlay prop.
Games 5 and 6, he didn't get his first rebound until halfway through the third quarter. And you're like, dude, you're 7 foot with a 7'6" wingspan. How is this your first fucking rebound?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under just because of like you're saying, he's kind of been all over the place with the rebounding, so not as reliable as LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron consistent, steady Eddie. What was the total again?
101. So you guys you're both taking the under.
So, unless LeBron somehow averages, like he's getting 14 a game and AD just needs 6 or 8. But yeah, I would take the under on that.
Okay. LeBron James assists in the series, 48.
I take the over.
Yeah, especially if we kind of like him to have some triple doubles, which I do. Yeah, and again, he's going to be working that facilitator angle, I think, at some point in the series. If not game one, definitely later on. So, yeah, 48 seems pretty reasonable on the over.
I feel like you're using us to test drive some lines you're rolling out illegally. You know what I mean? As your own sports book with some Pittsburgh friends that you got out some yins. And they're just like, all right, let me adjust this ever so slightly, take it up a half, maybe a full.
Hey, I've been to the house before, Matt. I've been to the house before.
I'm happy to do it. We just like a 10%
good spot to be.
Correct. Made 3-pointers. Lakers series total 58.5. Made 3-pointers.
Huh. 58.5.
I'm going to go under.
Okay.
All right. So if we assume it's going 6 games, boy, I'm inclined to take the over on that because I think a bad night for them is going 9 for whatever. A really terrible night would be 6-7 for whatever. Whereas a good night, Danny Green goes off a little bit, 10-11. I think it's possible, especially if you think it's going 6-6. So I think it's the first disagreement we've had. I think I might take the over on that.
Okay. And Heat 56.5 made 3-pointers in a series.
I take the over on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm leaning over as well.
Okay. All right. We already talked about the triple double, so I was given plus 300 triple double any player on the Heat in the series.
I think
so
it's Dragic or Adebayo are your 2 best options for that. And is Adebayo, who's a good passer, going to get enough assists to get a triple double? I think that's pushing it. So Dragic is your real answer on that. Will he get enough rebounds? I would say no.
So no.
Yeah,
so nobody's the plus 300.
No, I'm still off that. I think, I just don't see a Heat player doing it. I don't know, Spoelstra with the rotation. You kind of need a bunch of minutes, the ball in your hand a bunch. They do a good job of moving the ball around and letting different, finding a good game flow. And Barkley was kind of breaking that down, that like the Heat are good at like letting the game come to them and not just like taking turns at like letting guys go off. So I think that almost hurts the chance of a triple double there.
Makes sense. All right. And then the triple double Lakers was I'd give you either over under 2.5 or I'd give you plus 175 on that same number. So if like you want to take 3, I'll give you plus 175. You want to take 2, I'll probably give you like plus 200.
I think, you know what? I'm going to say it's exactly 2. LeBron has 2 triple doubles en route to his NBA Finals MVP.
Okay.
Still, though, Rondo could chip in with 1.
Oh,
where he has
that's underrated angle.
Yeah, that 10 point, 12 rebound, 12 assist type of game, which he's fully capable of doing. All right, so what is it on 3? What kind of?
So I was giving you 150 on 2, and I was giving you 225 on 3.
All right, so it's $10 to win.
25.
25. I'll take the 3. I'll take the 3.
Okay. All right. I'm giving you plus 220. Will the Heat be favored in any games?
I'm feeling Josh is going to hit us up like in a week and a half, like, you owe me $200. Like, wait, what? This is actually, he's like, oh no, this is a legally binding podcast.
Yeah, instead of Venmo, it's Yenmo. And it's just this picture of a Pittsburgh guy like, hey, you owe me money. I think the Heat will be favored in one of these games.
Okay. So you're taking the plus 220. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, what was it? Will the Heat be favored at all in the series?
At all. In
one game.
Yeah.
One game.
I'm going to say no. Not with the
one game.
No.
Well, you got the public money, though. That's the thing that's going to fuck it up.
Lakers are too strong of a public team. I mean, it would have to be something crazy. Okay. Like, even the fact that the game 1 line's at 5.5 to move off of 5.5. I don't know. I just don't see it happening.
It was 4.5. I heard yesterday.
Yeah, no, I think it's going down. So, but even from 4.5 to them being favored by a half, like if the sportsbook set a line where the Lakers were dogs, I don't know. You know, we would have to see something crazy happen as far as like Heat up 3-0 or something like that, or 2-0.
Would you? So if I was giving you like lowest point spread of the series,
that's a fun bet.
But I'm not going to give you a pick 'em. So I'm saying like lowest point spread of the series 2, and I'll give you like plus 250 on that if it gets down to that.
Now I could see it getting down to 2. That I could see.
Okay.
Probably 2.5, but certainly 2 is in the realm of possibilities.
Okay.
Depending on, and especially if they play, so I think you could see the biggest movement off of game 1. If the Heat win game 1, I think they will knock it down. But the problem is the public, and even myself included, even sharp guys, like after Lakers loss, people are still going to be looking to pound the Lakers because it's like, oh, bounce back opportunity for the Lakers. Mm-hmm. So I do think it could get down to like 2.5, 2, but that's pushing it.
Okay. Matt?
That is a gambler's bet in that you have a better understanding, and that doesn't take my knowledge of how many rebounds do I think he's going to get. That's more where do I think degenerates are going to put their money, and you know what? That's why I have guys like you on is to get a window into that world because I don't ever go into that world. So I will acquiesce to the two of your astute understanding, and just whatever you bet, I would bet on that one.
All right, so when I looked at it yesterday, the over-under for game 1 was 217.5. Is that still where it is?
I can give you, 217.5.
Okay, so I'm giving you total points scored in the series.
Oh, man.
1308.5.
I love the half as if we can do the calculus in our head so quickly to know whether or not that half is worthwhile.
That half is where he's going to get you.
Yeah. Correct. 13 what?
1308.5.
Well, if you think it's going 6 and tonight's is 2 something or other.
That's what I'm saying.
So you just need 1 or 2 games to go 130, 120, and you're good to go on this. I take the over.
Okay.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, in general, it seems like we've seen more overs so far in the bubble. A shootout certainly is possible, and again, without kind of like the home and away, and that seems to amp up the defensive intensity overall. So I would lean over.
Lean over. Okay. I'm going to give you plus 300, largest margin of victory, 21 points.
I take the under on that, or bet against that, whatever the terminology is.
So you think no team's going to come?
21's that's an ass whooping.
There's always one of those games.
True.
Series.
It would have to come from Miami more than likely, because that comes from a 3-point shooting team to be able to do that in the modern NBA. And the Lakers don't have the guns. So if the Lakers are the favorite team, to win by 21 means Miami needed to be cold as ice, and the Lakers were getting every fast break point, because they're the best fast break team in the NBA right now. It's by a wide margin. They're fucking that offense is number one, and nobody else comes close. They don't have the 3-point shooters to run up by 21. I would be amazed if that happened.
Okay, Sean.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm hearing what No says, and I'm on that same page. I think, like, if you could take and I haven't dug deep enough, but I'm sure someone has it. Will the Heat win a game by more than 21 points? You know, it would be like crazy odds, but actually that would be the way it goes, because he nailed it on the 3-point shooting. But also, like, for me, it's like a kind of an effort thing. And this Heat team, if they got down by 21, I think those dudes are still playing pretty hard. Now, on the flip side, if the Lakers are down 15, 16 late, I could see them, LeBron just kind of like packing it in. Hey, we'll get ready for the next game. Not going to like exhaust ourselves. This Heat team, regardless of what happens, I don't think effort's going to be an issue. But if the Lakers are down big, I could see them kind of punting to the next game. So I would say, no, I don't see the 21-point thing happening. However, the degenerate in me says, if you had a prop bet, will the Heat win a game by more than 21 points? If it was at the right price, I might consider it, Josh. So maybe I add that to the casino.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, if the Heat go down that much, dude, expect Last Boy Scout with Jimmy Butler, and he just walks out and just starts boom, or throwing coffee in guys, his special brand of coffee in guys' eyes and shit.
We're gonna miss that when they get rid of the bubble, like the little like random bubble stories. Like the player trying to hook up with the COVID testing lady, Jimmy Butler's coffee stand, CJ McCollum living in his own wine cellar because he set the temperature to like 60 degrees.
To keep them all as chilled as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. When I heard that story. First off, huge CJ McCollum fan. Like, the local college in my town is Lehigh. So when he beat Duke when he was on Lehigh, dude's like a legend. But like my wife and I, classic marriage argument, always arguing about the thermostat. And so when this came out, I'm like, see, it could be worse. We could be living in a Jimmy Butler wine cellar. And she's like, why doesn't he just like, get a wine refrigerator delivered? Like, there's so many workarounds. It's like, I don't know. He wants to live in a fridge.
Yeah, maybe he already likes it that cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Just 2 birds with 1 stone.
You got to imagine that somebody like, Ramona Shelburne will write a book about the bubble, right? Or some kind, because there's got to be some incredible, because she's been there the whole time, right? So she's seen a lot of it, but there's got to be like, we need like a storybook, like a graphic novel from the bubble, because we may never see anything like this ever again.
Well, you can go like several players did, video vlogs type of thing. They put it up. Matisse Thybulle is the one that got the most traction. But I want to hear about like the epic cornhole games.
Yeah.
Or the refs had, what were they playing? Bocce ball or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And I want to hear about the shit talking over there, or all the stupid stories of where they turned bass fishing into a competition.
Yeah. I was like, am I really watching these NBA players bass fish? But I was.
Totally.
And it's talking about degenerates. You hear all these stories about the crazy card games and the amount of money being exchanged. I mean, it was like a friend of a friend of a friend who works for some team, and he was like, "Hey, what's the scoop on like inside the bubble life?" And he's like, "Well, beside the insane amount of gambling, so there's someone lost $100,000 on Connect 4. We just haven't heard about it yet, but those stories will eventually come out."
Like, ESPN had to get 30 for 30 cameras in there, right? Like, what if I told you a pandemic forced everybody into a bubble?
It writes itself.
Yeah.
Well, if they've got cameras in there, I do want to see the house trying to get a booty call and COVID story.
Yeah.
That guy may have screwed himself out of a future job.
My brother and I were talking, like, how good are those strip club wings that you would risk getting out of the bubble to get wings? Like, how good are those wings?
He has wings named after him at that strip club.
Yeah.
So either
that's James that's James Harden-esque, didn't he?
It is.
He had his jersey retired at a strip club for spending like $1 million in a night or something.
Awesome.
All right, Josh, you got any more before we get out of here for today?
Final two. Total number of overtimes. 2.5.
Oh, under.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
No, bro.
You need to move that line.
Move that line to 1.5.
1.5.
I even that I think is going to be that's a tougher line, but
okay. And then number of times they mentioned that LeBron played in Miami, 567,301.5.
So I'm still taking the over.
Did you see the Spoelstra admonishing Rachel Nichols? As soon as they win, they're about to hand over the trophy. And he's like, what about, you got LeBron coming up in the next one? And Spoelstra's like, can we just enjoy this for tonight before we start talking about the storylines of, and you're like, yeah, he's right. Let's celebrate them winning. And then
and we're going to have the producer in her ear just going like, ask him about LeBron. Make sure you ask the LeBron question.
Yeah, like what's he gonna say? It's like, LeBron's great, love the guy, whatever.
It's the worst. It's like when Larry Merchant asks a complex question after just this knockdown, drag out brawl, and be like, the dude just got punched in the head for 12 rounds. Do you really think he's gonna have an astute answer right now, Larry? Why don't you just softball questions as opposed to the ever twisting and turning? It's like, let's make it easy on the dude.
I mean, we really miss the fact that Greg Popovich isn't in like later sessions of playoffs, especially in the bubble, because my goodness, him and Doris Burke have the best love-hate marriage throuple situation going on between those two. And
the sexual tension.
Yeah. Just like Popovich and Bill Belichick need to have their own show. I don't know what it's called. It could be just called Grunting, but they need to have their own old man angry show.
Grumpy and the Bear. That's what I'm calling it.
Old man in the media.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I think we could wrap right there. That was the most sports gambling we've had on Dimes, and it was a shitload of fun. I will tell you that much.
That was awesome, man. Thanks so much. And while we were talking, I placed about 5 more of these bets. So
we're at joshmacuga.net, and it's just a picture of Josh in this snazzy little suit.
Correct. Yeah. And hit me up on Yenmo. Hit me up.
Exactly. At Josh Macuga. Macugs, anything you want to plug before we get out of here today?
The afternoons podcast, me, myself, Ken Knapsack, and my wife, Amanda, every Thursday live, 4 p.m. on my YouTube channel. And I'm around. I'm usually up to something on my YouTube channel talking about something, golf, sports, gambling, and marriage, having a baby.
Who do you like in the series?
Who do I like in the series? I like Lakers in 6.
Okay. All right. Sean, same question to you and whatever you want to plug before we get out of here.
Yeah, Lakers in 6, but the real lock, LeBron James, MVP, minus 125. That is a gift of a price. And yeah, check us out, Sports Gambling Podcast, Sports Gambling Podcast Network. You can get it all at sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Ton of articles, picks, videos, podcasts. We put out a shit ton of content. So, head over there and give us a follow on Twitter at Gambling Podcast. Thanks again, Nos. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you to both of you coming on. Just to throw it out, I think my head says Lakers in 6. My heart says Heat in 7. I still think Lakers in 6, though, makes all the sense in the world. And trust me, I'll be talking about all kinds of NBA basketball, but I wanted to mix it up and get a different perspective on it. I think we did that today. We looked at the series overall from a different angle, and hopefully those that tuned in or listened to it later on can take something away, maybe make a little cash on their own, or be an investor in Josh's burgeoning casino. I don't know. It's all possible. But my thanks to both of you for joining me today. That is it for Dropping Dimes. We hope you enjoyed tonight's game, and see you guys at my usual time Friday at noon. Until then, adios.